Welcome to part 2 of episode 3 of the Kong Dynasty.
Here's just a quick shot of the drivers going in. All really straightforward stuff. The instructions that came along let you know how big of a hole to drill. The hardware is pretty standard, just a small nut and bolt. Really quick stuff. The only thing I was being really conscious of was making sure that the cords with the potentiometers faced on the outside, so I could have a hole there drilled just so I didn't have to reach around cobs when the fixture was being used and try to adjust things and worry about bumping them and whatever else. So I had those face the outsides. In the end, it worked out really nicely. One of the really clever things that I thought the Timber did, really easy too, but that they color coded everything. So as you can see here, each cob has a different color for the positive and negative, and then a corresponding wire. So just a really simple thing that made the installation that much easier. There wasn't any guesswork. You weren't having to go through and double, triple check, making sure that you did everything the right way. Just nice and straightforward, and it made the installation of the actual cob really easy. So I'm finally installing some lights here. I flipped the whole frame around just so I could see what I was lining up. Made it a little easier to line the holes up. I think a few of my measurements were a little off, so there's some give in the aluminum, so you're able to kind of squeeze things into place if you have to. The only thing I was trying to really be conscious of was making sure that I didn't have to stretch too far to reach the potentiometer. In the end, it worked out really nicely. I was also trying to just make sure that I could hide as many wires as possible, and that worked out pretty easily too. I'm trying to remember if I actually went through and installed everything and then wired it up. Nonetheless, it worked out well, and I was able to hide just about everything in that aluminum channel. I didn't end up using zip ties or anything like that to hold the wires in place. Each of these cobs has holes pre-drilled, and then there's 4 small Allen screws or bolts in there. You only end up using 2 of them, so I use the other 2 almost as kind of a wire stay. So I'd unscrew them a little bit, and then I'd kind of wrap a wire around each one, and that's what I'm showing here. Just trying to position things in a way that I didn't have wires hanging out everywhere. I'm just, having not used these before, I really wasn't sure about expectations about how hot these get. I mean, I figure if wires are coming with the kit, they're rated to withstand some heat. But then there was actually enough left over that I only had to use the wires from one kit beside the pre-wired potentiometer wires. So that was great too. I mean, to have some extra left me at least a little bit more confident in case I screwed something up. I wasn't having to go and try to scramble and search for something else. So I think anytime you have a kit where you end up with some excess or some extra parts, that's always kind of a nice thing for a seller or manufacturer to include. So again, that just left me feeling a little bit better about the process, like, well, I can't screw it up that much, and if I do, I have a safety net. Here I just try to get a little bit closer, give you a better look of what I was doing. Nothing real complicated about this process. Doesn't take a lot of skill, but more just kind of planning on where you want things to go and how tight you want them to be. And doing a dry run with things and just measuring stuff out, I find to be a good policy. But hopefully this gives you a better idea of what you're really doing. Again, you're just kind of lining up the colors. So in this case, blue to blue. And I had a wire stripper here, and I just kind of measured a length and gave myself a little bit of extra, stripped it down, and everything fit in great. And here it is, finally complete. You can see everything went in pretty easily, nice and clean. I was able to get those potentiometers to fall kind of in the same spot, and I knew what I was going to have hanging as the front, so those are going to kind of face the front of my tray, so I wasn't having to climb into my tray and adjust the brightness and things like that. Just a backside shot of things. There's a few stray wires here and there. The jump where I had to kind of bridge that gap in between each of the main lines, I ended up using some small rubber grommets to kind of insulate in the holes, just in case there was any potential for things to get scraped up and have a bare wire out there. I probably could have hot glued those in or done something like that just to make sure that things didn't pop out, but I don't think anything's shifted since I've been running the light. Overall, really happy with things. So much so, I actually just ordered a couple more kits. I mean, enough to build 3 more of these lights, 2 more for flower and 1 more for veg. And Dan from Timber Grow Lights was excellent about that. Really was helping me out with stuff. I'm sure he got tired of my emails, and they were great about giving me some information about what the shipping would be. And in the end, it was excellent. So, despite the fact that some of the quantum boards are probably kind of the next wave, I was just in a pinch. I needed these lights now, and so I pulled the trigger on that. And the great thing about this setup, now that I'm seeing it this way, is you kind of have that big gap in the middle where the drivers are fitting. I'm realizing now that I still have some room. Like, I could probably pop some of those boards in there, and this is the kind of fixture that you could expand upon. And again, I didn't do anything revolutionary here. I just followed what I saw online, and I just tried to hide the wires the best I could, and that's about the only thing that I brought to the table that would have been any way different. But I like that idea that I hopefully can grow with this and keep adding on. So if anyone has any questions, I'm going to try to post a little file, a little picture of this in diagram form with some measurements and things like that, just so that if someone is building a timber kit, that they can follow this stuff and at least have some measurements already for them laid out. Again, the timber instructions let you know the different sizes of holes to drill and things like that, but I found just knowing what your center point should be if you're trying to mount the cobs centered and consistent and things like that would really be helpful. So hopefully I can figure out how to post that in the information section below and have some sort of link, or have something on my Instagram. We'll see. But if anyone has any questions, please leave those below, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks for watching.